Hey, welcome to Wednesday Night Wisdom Share Sacred Practices. Glad you're all here tonight. Nice to see everybody. Happy if you're here this evening with us in person, or if you're live on stream or live online. So we're grateful wherever you are to be joining us tonight in our sacred space that we're co-creating. So just a few announcements I want to make. Next Wednesday we have Annie Yasemi. Is it Yosemite Annie? Anyway, she's coming all the way up from Yucca Valley. She works with the Center for Spiritual Living up in Yucca. She is also a licensed clinical hypnotherapist, meditation guide, and Reiki master, intuitive healer. She's going to be coming here to our center next Wednesday, and it's called Stepping Outside of Your Comfort Zone. The comfort zones are comfortable, but what happens when it is disrupted? In this session, you will learn to recognize your comfort zones so that you can decide whether they are hindering or promoting your personal growth. You will be guided through our process to tap into your higher awareness and then make some choices that can have a positive impact on your life journey. Please bring a pen and a journal. So I met Annie when I was up in Yucca Valley. You may have met her too. She's on the board. She's a lovely person. And so please come and join us. Come here in person. Actually, next Wednesday night is going to be our last Wednesday Night Wisdom Share. We're going to be, I don't know if canceling is the right word. We're going to be tabling it for a while. Hiatus. Reverend New said hiatus. Someone said table. We're going to give it some space and see how it reemerges in a couple months. So we're talking about maybe just having special events on Wednesday nights, but we felt for a number of reasons that we would like to reinvent and look at our Wednesday evenings. So we're going to be putting it on hold just for a little bit there. So we'll keep you informed on our website and on our newsletters. We'll let you know what's going on. So then we have our, for this evening, if you would like to donate to our beautiful spiritual center, we have many opportunities and many ways to share your love and your gifts, talents, and treasure. For this one, sharing our treasure, we have a text to give. And Jeff is going to put that on screen right now, the text to give. And you can just read that information and just fill in the text and send it to our... is it up there yet? Oh, there it is, yeah. So type in the dollar amount and then the word wisdom with a capital W, and then that'll go to this evening's wisdom share. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Let's start with a centering practice to get us settled and centered and be fully present in this moment right here, right now. I invite you to take a few conscious breaths. Just give ourselves permission to stop everything and to be here now. Right here, right now, sitting wherever you find yourself sitting in this exact moment, breathing this breath. As we take a few conscious breaths, give ourselves permission to stop. We align with the ground of inner peace. Now within this peace there is a wisdom. We tap into and align with our soul. We align with that inner divine creative source that is always here. As we quiet and still our mind, we open up our heart, our soul, our mind to receive this evening. We know that each one who is here this evening, whether you're here in person or online, that we're creating and co-creating a sacred space. We know that right now, in this moment, each of us is open and receptive to receive exactly what our soul needs to hear this evening. Each of us is here on purpose, and each of us, no matter where we are a part of this sacred space. As we give thanks for this precious opportunity to have Peter sharing this evening, Peter Bedard. I know that Peter is going to share, and he's going to allow this beloved presence to work in him, as him, and through him, as he always does. I know that each one will be inspired by his presence and his presentation. So we give thanks for this wonderful and precious opportunity to come together in this way. And so now we surrender it. We give thanks in advance. Know it's an amazing evening filled with lots of insight, humor, and wisdom. So we surrender it now. We allow Spirit to have its way, and we claim it as so by saying, and so it is. Yay. So I'm going to invite Peter up to share his...
All right, I'm going to give a... Do you want to pay pads? Because I know you're staying, because Spirit's saying to stay.
He's handing pads out.
Take a pad, if you will. Do you want a pen?
I'm going to
Go it. Okay, you want a pen? Yes. All right. Here you go. And Laurel, I know you have an incredible memory and observation. I want you to use that billboard of the inside of your eyes.
Peter's going to be sharing on the understanding of the intricacies.
The intricacies
of healing. So.
Yes.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Peter.
Thank you, Mark.
So much for coming and
Thank you for the opening and the introduction. I appreciate that. And I'm looking online. Jeff, would it help if I move this over a little bit, like there? That's okay? Okay. As I like. I like that. All right. I'm going to grab my pen. I got my eraser. Okay. So people have been saying things to me lately about how do we create change. People say they want to change. It's the beginning of the year. People talk about resolutions. They say they want to do things differently, think differently, be different, all that type of stuff. They want to feel differently in their body, think differently in their mind. And so this is a simple little process that I created for us to be aware of how we are creating the life we are creating, as well as how we can create the life that we want to create. I talk about life in general as always being in a loop. Everything we do in this earthly experience, I think it's, as someone who's gone to the other side and been out of this earthly experience, I think it's completely different on the other side. But in the earthly experience, we have a loop. We're in loops. And we could have an addiction loop. We could have a trauma loop. We could have an anxiety loop. We could have a pain loop. There's all kinds of different loops. And you can only exist in the physical world in a loop. There's no round about it, right? You can't step out of a loop, but you can change loops into another one, all right? So, and an example of a loop in how the brain actually works is something that I was told years ago of don't think about pink elephants. The first thing that happens when I tell you don't think about pink elephants is what? You think about pink elephants, exactly. And that is the loop in itself. That's the most simple way to understand the loop that we live in. In order to not think something, you have to think it and then tell yourself not to think it. One of my mentors, when I was getting my master's degree, developed this wonderful program for emergency medical therapists, right? People that are first responders. And she mainly worked with EMTs that are in ambulances, right? And the EMTs used to go up to people when they had severed limbs or severe injuries, right? They used to say, jokingly, thinking that humor was going to help, and it can, but in this situation, they used to say, hey, buddy, don't die on us. Now, if we understand the loop of thinking, just like we have to think about pink elephants before we say don't think about pink elephants, we have to die in order to not die. So the brain is receiving information, hey, buddy, don't die on us, right? And when we're in trauma situations, the brain is not in logic, it's in survival. It's going to do pretty much what it's told. There isn't logic and reasoning and willpower and decision-making principles when you're suddenly hit by a car or you suddenly have a severe accident, right? And I'm sure you guys online can understand that, right? So what my mentor taught the EMTs to do is actually to keep the humor, but to actually say something different. And they started saying, hey, buddy, you can stop bleeding now. And the first thing that happened is they stopped bleeding. And this is even for people who had amputees, severed limbs, right? Their bodies immediately started to stop the hemorrhaging, stop the bleeding. Isn't that fascinating? right? The suggestion that was made, that conscious suggestion that went into the subconscious mind of the person who's in trauma, hey, buddy, you can stop bleeding now, kicks in. The body says, oh, I can stop bleeding, and they do. That is how we can use the loop in a positive, constructive way, right? So I want you to go back to that. What loop are you living in? You may be living in a poverty loop. You may be living in an anxiety loop, an addiction loop, whatever it is. You're always going to be in a loop, right? So first, accepting that was a big thing for me because I went to the other side and I didn't want to be in a loop. And I didn't want to deal with the physical experiences that I had come back to and that all that pain and emotional upset and all that type of stuff. But I understood and I finally accepted, wait a minute, this is how life works. It's an equation. It's even mathematical, right? How I think affects how I feel, what I do, where I go, who I am. So I actually created a formula that I wanted to share with you guys tonight. And the formula for creating the results or the life that you are looking for is very simple. So if you're doing this at home or for you guys here, on your pad of paper, turn your pad of paper horizontally. And I want you to write this across the top of the page. All right? The formula is thoughts. It's a time I wish I was left-handed because then I wouldn't be blocking what I'm writing. So thoughts plus feelings plus actions plus habits. And I often say behaviors, so habits or behaviors, equal results. And I'm going to step back so you can see that. So this mathematical formula, thoughts plus feelings plus actions plus habits equals the result of the life that you are living. Pardon? Should I use a red pen, you're saying? That's better? Great. Let's grab a red pen and see if that shows up better. And if people are online and they can't see that, let me know. I would love to hear from you in the chat. And if you are online and you want to contribute in the chat, Jeff will let me know that someone has a comment and wants to participate. So, yes. Okay, right now I will try to. Right down lower is what you're saying. Got it. Okay. Well, this is just our equation so that everybody can know. We're actually going to work lower than that. But so everybody knows, if you're online and you can't see it because of the reflection, I'm going to repeat it again. Thoughts plus feelings plus actions plus habits or behaviors equals the results. Okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to make columns. So these are our columns right through here, right? Now, I worked in addiction recovery for years, and in addiction recovery, the results for a lot of people were they were in a recovery house, or they had a DUI, or they were in court, or whatever it was. And one of the things we would do is we would go, oh, Mark, you're saving me with a thicker pen. Sure. So Mark's going to rewrite that. So in the addiction world, part of our therapy that I would do with people is looking at how they got where they are. And to actually say, well, what were the thoughts, the feelings, the actions, and the habits or behaviors that brought me to where I was, right? A thought might be, I feel useless, I feel worthless, right? That's a thought, right? I think I am. A feeling might be something that you physically had an experience of. I feel an emptiness in my heart, a hole in my gut, right? A knife in my back. I always just feel like I have that experience, right? An action is something you physically do, right? Actions are generally physical, but they can be otherwise, but generally a physical action that we do. I beat myself up. I don't show up, right? I don't go to meetings. I smoke. Yeah, absolutely. Those things contribute, right, to that result that person is living. And a habit, I call habits and behaviors, I interchange them, right? because I like to use behavior, but it really falls into the category of a habit, right? What do I do habitually? Thank you so much. Let's hear it for Mark. Yay! Thank you, Mark. So habits are things that we do repeatedly and habitually, right? I go to the bar every day at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, right? Well, that's going to contribute to that result, right? So there's habits, things that we do that contribute to that experience. So on the shadow side of a loop, I would love for you to think about what is one of the results that you are experiencing. Maybe it's not a DUI. Maybe it's lack or not having enough money or poverty or pain or whatever it is, right? And I want you to just take a moment, because we're not going to spend too much time on this. And Mark, that's great. Thank you for changing that lighting. As long as everybody online can see, please do chat or tell us if it's not. So what is something that you have experienced that you would that you want to understand better, right? What is a thought that contributed to that result? Notice I'm saying contributed, right? It doesn't have to be it made it happen 100%, but it contributed to that result. So what's a thought? A lot of us have shame experiences, guilt experiences, stuff like that, right? Well, if I'm ashamed of myself or I'm hiding myself, right? That is a thought that I have about myself that is contributing to something, to that, maybe that experience of feeling unloved, or I can't sustain a relationship or something of that sort, right? If I don't love myself and I'm living in shame, I can't be honest with the people I am. So those thoughts, I'm not good enough, contribute to the strain that comes out in my relationship, right? So take a moment to think about a thought that contributed to that result. And we're on the shadow side now. And again, if you want to write it down, you're welcome to. Just put that right underneath. So the thought might be, nobody loves me, everybody hates me, I think I'm going to eat some worms. That's what I used to think as a kid, right? What's a feeling that contributes to that result, right? So if it's a poverty mentality, I don't have enough, right? That experience of not having enough money. How did my feelings create that result if I don't have enough money? Maybe I don't feel valuable. So of course the result, if I don't feel valuable, then that result is that, of course, right? So what's an action, something you physically did to contribute to that result? And so we're kind of reverse engineering, right? What's an action? What's a habit? Maybe I always insulted myself. Maybe I said to people all the time, well, I can't do that, I'm not good enough, right? Well, that's a verbal habit. That's a thinking habit, right? Maybe I procrastinated all the time. Maybe, and whenever I had a few bucks in my pocket, I spent it. Well, that is a habit. Now, it could also be an actual behavior, right? So habits are interesting because you could have mental habits, you can have physical habits, right? You can have, or feeling habits, and you could have physical habits, right? So allow that understanding of habits. Something may be something that's a feeling, but if you do it all the time, maybe it goes here, but maybe it belongs over here more in this category, right? Because if I'm doing it constantly every day, then that is more of a habit. If I'm doing it every now and then, maybe it's a feeling, an action, or a thought, right? Okay. So that's the sort of shadow side of understanding a behavior. And it can be very important because the moment you change any of these experiences, the result's going to change, right? If I have a habit of going to the bar every day at 4, if I go to the bar every day at 8, that's going to change my results. Because instead of being there for 8 hours, maybe I'm only there for 2 hours or 4 hours, right? I might still be using, but it's changing it. And it's the beginning of the process, right? It's the beginning of the process. I'm putting different energy in there. Maybe I'm still doing the same habit, but I'm not engaging with it for as much time and energy, right? And the same with my thoughts. Maybe I only insult myself twice a day instead of 10 times a day, right? So I can look at these things and I can begin to start changing the actual experience, the equation, right? And remember that 1 degree for an airplane will land that airplane in a different country. A 1 degree shift, as that airplane is flying 1 degree, will land in a whole different country. 1 degree of change in any of these categories. Now, you still may have a problem of poverty or addiction or whatever it is, but maybe it's not going to be as severe, right? Maybe you'll not be the addict that has to lose all their friends, right? In that experience. Okay, so I'm bringing this about. I know it's on the shadow side. We're not going to spend too much time in that area, but I want you to see that becoming conscious about what are the thoughts that I am thinking, the feelings, the actions, and the habits or behaviors that create the result, I can start changing. I can start creating that experience of shift, right? And people, again, like I said at the beginning, they're like, well, how do I do it? It seems so big. It seems overwhelming, right? Well, if my feeling is this emptiness, then maybe I can feel a little bit full. Maybe I'm not full, but maybe I'm a little bit full. And that little bit is the beginning of that shift. It may only be 1%, but 1% every day adds up. And suddenly making those changes isn't so overwhelming and seems so impossible. I have seen people apply this very simple little method to not only change the experience they had of addiction or trauma or whatever it is, but to also then create amazing results. Results that they, in their conscious, never thought possible until they understood, well, how do I create it? Right? Okay, now the fun stuff. Now I want you to think of a result that you really want. Maybe it's a trip to Paris, right? It's a loop. Maybe it's perfect health. Maybe it's abundance, whatever it is. And I want you to now go through, and I'm going to give you time to do this now, because we're shifting into possibility, and I love living in possibility. The shadow is important to address, and it actually helps make things a little clear. But now that we're shifting in the light, we're going to spend some time in there. All right? I hope that's good with everybody. All right. So let's pick a result. What's a result that one of you would like in your life right now? What's a result? I'm all about health, but
quote unquote, I kind of jokingly said this, semi-retirement.
okay.
So I'm going to be working still,
Uh-huh.
but I want to work less days.
So what if I said, let's phrase that in a way, because it's not retirement, but it is, I am well paid and well respected. Okay. Is that correct?
Yeah, like I want to work like...
I'm not working 80 hours a week anymore, yeah. Like I know you do.
40 hours.
Okay?
No, 4 days. 4 days a week and be able to work on my other projects.
Let's say 25 hours. How about, would you be cool in accepting that I am well paid and well respected, I am making more than enough money, and I'm only working 25 hours a week? You'd accept that?
I was going to say 30 to 25.
Yeah, why not? Okay, so 25 hours, right, week, and well paid, well respected. Does that vibrate with you? Great. And I hope it vibrates with other people on with us. Yeah? Did I hear yes, Jeff? Well received. Great. Let's put that down there. All right. All right, Meg Ryan.
I have 2 things.
Yes.
Creative income
Okay.
and to quit smoking.
Great. Let's pick one. I would love for you to pick quit smoking. Because when you quit smoking, that income will go up. So no, it's linked. Okay? All right. So I don't want you to write quit smoking. I want you to write permanent ex-smoker.
Okay, I wrote non-smoker.
Oh, non-smoker. Great. Put the word permanent. Because so many smokers, they become non-smokers, and then they go back to being smokers. Right? So permanent. I am a permanent. There's a finality to it. I'm a permanent ex-smoker. It is a story of my past. It is not a story of my present. I am a permanent ex-smoker. Feels good, doesn't it? Yeah, I like that. Okay, so this is what we're going to go with right now. And you feel free to do your own, of course, but we're going to use Mark's example here, and we're going to do a few of them. Okay, Mark. So, put this across there. What is a thought, a way of thinking that supports this result? So, I want you to think about this result. You're working 25 hours a week. You're well paid, well respected, well received. You have more than enough. And you're only working 25 hours a week. What is a thought? Because the shadow side is not that. And you know the shadow thoughts, don't you? Because you're probably hearing them in your head right now.
To me, what comes up is I'm sharing my gifts and talents and doing exciting things.
So give me that as a statement of thought. Maybe you just said it, but I want to hear it clearly. What's a statement of thought?
I'm sharing my gifts and talents
Okay.
and doing exciting things.
Oh, great. Okay. Awesome. I am sharing, he said, my gifts and talents. Did you say new? In new and exciting. Hopefully you guys can read my writing. I've never been that good at penmanship. All right. So I want you to have that thought right now. If you need to close your eyes, you need to say it out loud. You need to say it several times. In fact, actually, you know what? Let's all join in, because we all want this as a goal, right? Let's all join in and support Mark in that. And on the count of 3, I want you all to say out loud, including you online and here in the room. I want you to say all out loud in supporting this thought, right? Okay, ready? Count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I am sharing my gifts and talents in new and exciting ways. One more time. I am sharing my gifts and talents in new and exciting ways. Now, Mark, how's that feel? Give me a feeling. Give me a feeling descriptor, not a thought descriptor. Exciting. Okay, exciting is kind of one of those muddy ones. What does exciting feel like? I want you to really bring it into physical experience. So I'll put exciting, and what does exciting feel like? Expansive, like a journey. Expansive. Like a journey is kind of in your head. It's a thought. What is the feeling? So I'm trying to get this in your body, right? And so is it heavy? Is it light? Is it solid? Is it refreshing? Is it tingly? Is it butterflies? What is the actual feeling? As much as physical as you can get it, not a thought about it, but a physical sensation about this experience, about I am sharing my gifts and talents in new and exciting ways. The feeling is it's exciting, and that excitement feels like bubbling up in your belly. What does it feel like?
Well, it feels like a lightness in the heart.
Yeah? So the feeling is that there is a lightness in Mark's heart, correct? Okay, I want you to do it right now. I want you to say this, and I want you to see if that feeling comes and they're linked together. So link them together. I'll do it with you. I am sharing my gifts and talents in new and exciting ways. It is exciting, expansive. There's a lightness in my heart. How's that? Good. So the feeling is there now, right? And you see, before the word excitement, well, I can say I'm excited, but I'm really not having the feeling of being excited, right? You can, but it needs to go further. It needs to, like, freedom is an interesting one. People want to say, I'm free. Well, I'm saying, well, what does that feel like? I don't know. I feel free. But what does freedom feel like? Well, it feels like not being trapped. But what does it feel like?
But when you have the feeling like I'm living this and I'm accomplishing more with less,
Yes. So,
it's a sense of accomplishment or inner harmony or
there you go.
Yeah.
You just said inner harmony. Okay? So accomplishment for you feels like inner
like everything is
flow.
flowing. Yeah.
So it feels like flow. It feels like harmony. It feels like connectivity. And even those words are getting a little abstract. So the more you can get them out of your head and into the physical sensation of it, when I am in my harmony, my harmonious experience, what does that feel like? How do I know it? Right?
What about feeling grounded and soft?
There you go. Those are more feeling states, right? Not that that other stuff isn't feeling. I'm just trying you to get your feelings more physicalized, right? So they're more hands-on, tangible, and experiential.
I like that word, physicalized.
Physicalized. It's actually a word. I had to look that one up. Maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't. All right. Okay, Mark, back to you. There's this experience now, right? This lightness in your heart. And it is contributing to this experience of knowing this, of that as a result. Now, what is an action, a physical thing that needs to happen to be done in the world in order to call this into being? What is a physical thing that contributes to this experience?
Letting go, releasing some of the commitments that I have had around my current work.
All right, so releasing commitments. Okay. All right, releasing commitments. Okay, that is a physical thing because you need to send an email, say, I'm no longer doing this anymore. But the action is the email. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so how for you, releasing commitments, I interpreted it as an email, a resignation letter, or whatever it is, right? What is the thing, the physical thing that you need to do for this to be? Make a phone call. So phone call. Okay. Got it? There's probably a few things on this list.
Taking off Fridays.
Great. So Friday's off.
And it's not going to really be off doing this other thing I'm working on. So it's
Okay.
about work necessarily as much as wanting to do.
It's creating a different thing.
Rearrange my schedule to make sure I have Fridays off
Time for self.
from,
I'm
you know, like,
I'm prioritizing my
Okay.
new work that I'm working. I've already started that I'm working on, which is writing.
Okay. So prioritize. Great. That's a physical thing. Okay. The more the more practical you can make these, right, into an actual displayable, performable action, the better. Right? Right? Like if you were stop smoking, I am putting the cigarette down. Right? Or I broke my cigarettes in half. That's a great one. I used to do a lot, for whatever reason, for a while, I did a lot of smoking cessation, right? And that physical action. If I'm going to be a permanent ex-smoker, then one of the actions I need to do is break my cigarettes and throw half of them away. That's a physical thing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Great.
I wanted to say something about,
Go for it.
so, to me, when I hear you talk about taking Fridays off and directing your energy somewhere else, it doesn't sound like work, it sounds like passion of Friday.
Exactly. Now, there may be another loop that we need to do, another equation.
Work Friday,
Yeah, because it's not really work. Maybe it's even the
passion Friday.
results probably
Great.
not so much about the hours as it is about or the well paid, more about what I love.
Okay, so let's put in here passion.
I want to be well paid too.
Yeah, I always encourage
What I'm doing now, my life is
to pay you.
so many years.
Yeah. Well, that's why well paid, well respected is there. Because that kind of is, if I'm well paid and well respected, and hopefully I'm well paid and respected doing what I love, but it's an assumption on my part. So to put it down, that's great. Okay? Good catch. All right. Now, habits. Habits, remember, you can have habituated thought habits. You can have habituated feelings. You can have habituated actions. What is a habit? It could be any of these things, but that it happens all the time. Right? So when I was doing some change work in my life, which I'm currently doing right now even, one of the things that I do, one of my habits might be that I have a habit of saying a little prayer when I'm at a stoplight. Right? I say a little prayer. Or I have a habit of something like that I do. Right? And that habit supports the result that I'm creating. Right? I want to have more peace in my life. Right? Now, peace for me doesn't mean I can't be energetic. Doesn't mean I can't be moving fast. Right? A still river is peaceful. But boy, there's a lot of powerful currents flowing through that river. Right? There's a lot of motion, a lot of movement, all that kind of stuff. Can I learn how to be in peace and still be in movement? A lot of people interpret peace as I'm not doing anything. Well, that's not my peace. Right? Okay, so back to yours. What is a habit that you do all the time that supports this experience?
I have a little app on my phone that says notes.
Okay.
And I've been writing excerpts for my book and workbook that I'm writing.
Okay, so I put down thought notes.
As they come up.
Okay, so I put down thought notes. Does that
Throughout the day, though. Like,
throughout the day?
I wake up in the morning and it's on my mind, I'll put it in there. I don't have anything else to write on.
Great idea. So Mark is saying that he takes notes, thought notes, throughout the day. And that's a habit. And that he doesn't have to be sitting down and writing in that moment, but it's a habit that his consciousness is in this experience. Right? And this supports that, doesn't it? And that is a thought habit, isn't it? Okay. Now, I'm going to suggest for all of you doing it at home and you guys who do it more later, is that you come up with many more things. Right? Yes.
I find it interesting, just hit me, whenever I think of a habit, I always think it's a bad thing.
Ah, yeah. That's because
It's not the truth.
it's not the truth. A habit is anything you do repeatedly. Right? There are unhealthy habits and there are healthy habits. Right? And that's why when we stop addiction issues like smoking, we never want to, it's always very powerful to replace one habit with a better one. And in AA, it's something they do naturally, right? You have AA people often replace a habit of drinking with coffee or sugar, right? They didn't eat sugar at all, and then all of a sudden they stop eating sugar. Well, they're not drinking, so they downgraded a habit, a bad habit. Now let's keep upgrading the good habits, right? Again, this isn't about absolutely having to get everything perfect. It's about shift, right? It's about creating change. And a lot of people have this idea, which is kind of coming into the root of what you're talking about, is that change must happen exactly as you want it, when you want it, how you want it right now. Right? And that's just not practical most of the time, right? It's just not, right? There are things that we need to do. We're transferring from, remember that first equation we did of the shadow? That was a loop. We're transferring from the shadow loop into the well-paid, well-respected, well-received loop. Does that make sense? So what's interesting about this formula is, like a lot of things in life, you can use it negatively or you can use it positively. You can use it consciously or you can use it subconsciously. Because you're always doing this, right? You're always doing this. You're always having thoughts. Right now you're having a thought about this, about me, about where you need to go next, about your chihuahuas, whatever it is, right? You're always having a thought. Now, what we do with our thoughts creates an experience. Okay? In a simplified way, I love to say that a thought and a feeling, when they copulate and come together, they create the result of the world we live in. Just that.
Can you say that?
When a thought and a feeling come together, they create the reality of where we live, of what we live. It's that simple, right? The thought could be, I'm unworthy. The feeling could be, I have a pit in my stomach. And the reality is, I'm lonely, right? The thought could be, I'm unworthy. And the feeling is I'm unloved. and the reality is poverty. Right? The thought could be, I'm amazing. I'm a powerful human being. And the feeling is my shoulders are wide and strong. And the result is I'm standing in front of you right now. Does that make sense? Right? Life, we try to make life so complicated, and it can be. There could be so much, doing this, you can create so much depth out of this. You can create so much experience. On the shadow side, you could dig in. Well, what else did I do that created that result, right? And sometimes it's important to do that because we want to unearth and dig out all of that ancient stuff, right? All that garbage, right? And so sometimes it's important to, yes.
But aren't we supposed to get to that ancient stuff to get to the result?
No, not at all. Nope. So back in the day, like 18 years ago when I was getting my master's degree, I didn't go into psychology because psychology at the schools I was looking into at the time were all about going into the problem. They looked at people as being broken and that they needed to be fixed. And I didn't agree with that. And they looked at analysis as being the only way. And so, even when I was young in my profession, people would come to me and they spent 20 years with a therapist analyzing their stuff. And so now they remembered, they dug up all that old stuff, right? The stuff that they suppressed, the stuff they forgot, right? They dug up all that stuff and they knew exactly why they were effed up, but they're still that.
Because I understand I smoke because of that stuff.
Potentially, yes. And what's interesting, as we start living differently, the healing starts taking place. Right? As we start having confidence in ourselves, being present with our emotions. Because part of I always try to get my clients when I'm working on smoking work to understand that smoking, in my opinion, this is only my opinion, is the number one emotional suppressant. Alcohol doesn't suppress our emotions. Heroin doesn't suppress our emotions. Smoking suppresses emotions. It is the number one culprit. Right? So when we stop smoking, the emotions come up. And one of the things we learn if our result is to be a permanent ex-smoker, is how to be present with our feelings. And if we start being present with our feelings, then the shadow side of those feelings start to heal. Does that make sense? Yeah. Right. Great. Is it important to go in and dig up the past? My experience sometimes, I generally want to default and say no. Right? But for some people, there is a value in being able to go, well, I came from a broken home. I came from people that were poverty-minded. And so I'm accepting that. I'm aware of it now, and I'm no longer participating in it. And if that's what the digging up the past gets you to do, it gives you a sense of freedom. Oh, that thought never belonged to me. I was taught that poverty mentality. It was given to me by my parents. Great. I dug up enough. I know where it came from. I no longer have to blame them. I do it too. I was a sucker to the same experience that the universe taught me, or a people, culture, whatever, right? Right? And do I need to continue it? Right? It's one of those buck stops here moments, I like to say, right? The buck stops here. I was taught that in my family. And I get to actually have more compassion for my family and for myself, because they were taught it too. So sometimes going back to the past can have value. But normally you can do a lot of this work and a lot of the creative work and a lot of the really creation work without having to do that. Is there value in analysis? Sometimes. Do certain people seem to need it in order to let go or forgive or move on? Yes. Do we need to spend 20 years doing it? Absolutely not. Spend a couple weeks. Does that make sense? Okay. So, yes, question.
I have a question about the results because in choosing a result, I'm trying to, sometimes I go too large and too generalized.
Okay.
So, like, what I wanted is to have great team of people who are on fire in leadership.
Right. Well, you got me. You manifested me.
Right. So would my result be, I want to have the experience of that or to manifest that? Because then I'm going into, well, they have to, I'm trying to manipulate an outside effect.
Exactly. That's where I was going to go.
So how do I formulate, be really careful about, I think the whole thing works if you're clear about the result.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So for what you're talking about, we can never create results for other people. We can contribute to their results. If you know your partner, right, wants to have a particular result, right, and then and they communicate to you the thoughts, the feelings, actions, and habits that create that, you can support that. Hey, babe, I saw you bought some cigarettes. It was kind of fun when we broke them last time. It felt really empowering. Can I do that with you? Right? So there's different things that we can do to support each other. But what you're talking about is a community. And so the community kind of needs to come together and do this, right? As a community. Because it is one being the community that is creating the result. I would do that. But for you personally, you as a leader in that community, right? I'm going to encourage you to figure out what is the result for you. Personally. Yeah. Maybe how it would feel specifically, right? But just what it would be, right? To know that. So you're working and creating independently of our larger group. But I've done this with corporations. The corporation may have a result that they're looking for. It might be like, something benign, like a 20% increase in sales or something like that. To me, that's annoying. But it's important, right? I like meatier, right? More personal kind of results, right? I want the company to maybe have something like their goal is a work environment where everybody feels supported. Ooh, that's meaty to me. 20% increase is great, awesome, we can do that work. What do you need to, what are the thoughts, the culture? The thoughts for that would be the culture of the company, right? What are the thinking, the thoughts, the leadership, right? The feelings where, what is it like? What does your logo look like? How does that logo, what are the colors? What's the environment? What's the workspace, right? That would be the feelings, because those feelings are going to result to that experience, right? What would be the actions, the things you physically need to do, implement, put into place? What are the habituated experiences that you need to do to create that experience of a 20% increase or whatever it is? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but for her, what is it?
So for her, I would encourage her to have an experience. So communally, it's, what did you say?
You can say but the result I want is teamwork and unity or something like that.
Great, good.
But then you're dealing with an outside force.
Right, but how do you, so if teamwork and unity is your goal, right? How do you,
For the organization.
right? I'm going to encourage you to do it for yourself.
Okay.
Teamwork for you, because you know what? We are made of many, many different systems, right? Just biologically, we have our circulatory system, right? We have our breath. We have this energy meridians that move through our body. We have thought patterns. We have all these different things that are happening, creating the one human being. But there really are completely separate systems that have to work together to create the one human form, right? And sometimes those systems rebel, like around health issues, right? So we want to bring them together. But for you, that idea of community, oneness, unity, right? How am I demonstrating that? So what are the thoughts, the feelings, actions, habits that I need to do to have that? And can I now do those with my community? Can I bring that to my community? Can I demonstrate it? Right? As somebody with a smoking issue, I don't know if you've been around this yet, but a friend quits and now all the other friends want to quit. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, 20 years ago.
Right.
I'm still the one that smoked.
You're still the one. Right. But that idea,
In between, but
yeah, you stopped and then started and stopped. So basically the root of that is probably an emotional experience. And the cigarettes are helping you deal with it. The cigarettes are helping you. They're a positive thing. I'm going to encourage you not to be mad at them, not to be angry about it, not to be frustrated with it, right? To say, you know what, you're helping me. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to appreciate it.
But I like that you said it stops my emotion.
Yes, it completely shuts it down.
Yeah, and I'm really into
Being, yeah, you want to have your emotions. Yeah, yeah.
shenanigans in my head.
Orale. I get it, right? Okay, so we're running. Oh no, we're not. We have another 10 minutes, Jeff? So, are there any questions online? Any comments or anything yet?
Just hello, how are you? This is great.
Oh, great. Well, hi. I am super excited to be here. And if you do have any specific, thank you for the greetings and kindness. If you do have any specific things that you want to have questions and participate, please do send them because we do have some time. Right? Okay. Now, you guys know that I love using the brain, and I love NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and I love hypnosis, and I love imagery and medical imagery and all that type of stuff, right? In my idea, I'm using the tools of the brain in order to create that result. So, as a little bonus, I want you guys to start subscribing color, temperature, texture, sound, smell, taste, to all of the parts. What is the color of that thought? What's the weight of it? Is it light? Is it heavy? And we often judge heavy as being bad or rough as being bad, but I'm here to tell you that rough is one of my favorite textures. I love rough. I love rough, scratchy towels. I love rough, what are they called? Fula sponges, or what are they called? Loofah sponges. I love those, right? I love that rough texture. So for me, the texture of my happiness it can be rough, right? It can feel like, oh God, yes, don't stop, keep scratching my back, right? That is something that lights me up. I just love that feeling. Getting a Korean salt scrub oh my God. And those guys that do it, I don't know if you've ever gotten one, the girls on the girls' side, the guys on the guys' side, they like lift up your arm, they throw you around, they're like, right? They are not only rough, they're not only rough in the salt, but they're kind of rough to you, to you. It's kind of weird. And that part, not so much, but I love that just aggressive, rough scrub. Oh my God. Yeah, exactly. Right? Oh, you're the opposite, right? Yeah, that's like no to you. You probably a feeling word would probably be soft, gentle, right? Fluffy, plush, right?
Smells.
Great. So ascribe a smell to these experiences. Because the more you can start engaging physically in your brain, and I really meant to say physically in your brain, right? The more you're doing that, the more you're engaging with this. Got it? So I'm going to invite you to put a color, a temperature, a texture, a sound, a smell, a taste even, right? So Mark, let's just pick one. Pick one of these that you like and give me the taste. Is it tart? Is it bitter? Is it sweet? Is it tangy? Is it spicy? What is it? Exactly. That's why I picked you. Because I want you to get it in physical form. So give me a taste of, how about this? Releasing commitments. So strawberries are kind of tangy and sweet? Sweet and tart. So sweet, let me get that better, and tart. Sweet and tart. Right? Now, I want you to think about sweet and tart. And as you're tasting that in your mouth, I want you to think about, I'm making that phone call, and it's a very sweet and tart phone call. How do I make that sweet and tart phone call? What's the sound in my voice as I speak sweetly but tartly? I wonder what that's like as I practice it. How do I go about my day as I am embodying this experience, consciously creating this experience? How do I go about my day? If sweet and tart, because you have a nice smile on your face and there's this kind of like relaxed face that suddenly came into being when you said sweet and tart. And I said, how do you speak that way? So know that every day in every way, and that's my little hypnotic phrasing, every day in every way that you speak sweetly and tartly, you are supporting this. And your subconscious mind understands that. Every day in every way, as you speak sweetly and tartly, even if it's to a current client or to anything else, or it's to releasing a commitment, I am supporting this to come in more and more into the world. I'm making that shift. And maybe it's a 4-degree, 5-degree shift. Does that make sense? Got that? Okay, so I want you to go to your non-smoking, your permanent ex-smoker. What is the taste? Because this is important. What is the taste of being a permanent ex-smoker of that result? Honey. So it's a honey-like sweetness. Great. Can you have that honey-like sweetness in your mouth right now? I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to think about that honey-like sweetness. And I want you to invite your taste buds to go nom, 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 nom. Honey-like sweetness. And I wonder if you invited yourself the next time that a thought for a cigarette came in and you said, I'm going to have some honey-like sweetness, and I'm going to do that first. And if I still want the cigarette, fine. But I'm going to actually go to that honey-like sweetness first. Do I still need a cigarette? And what's your answer right now? No. Isn't that interesting? So you are consciously and actively already engaging in this result, aren't you? Right. So this is where the hypnotic languaging, the tools of the brain, can be really powerful in understanding and implementing, right, embodying the result. So please do. I know I'm giving you a lot, and I know this could be actually complicated and very in-depth. If it's too much, don't. I love simple. Just have one thing in each category and support that by having a color or a texture. You don't even have to think of everything else. What is the color of that result, Mark? Of you living in that well-paid, well-respected, well-received. What is the color? Indigo blue. Very specific blue. Thank you. I love that. Now, would you have any indigo blue t-shirts or underwear or socks? Right? So I'm going to ask you, you don't think you do. So because that color is so important, that color is an expression of this result for you. I'm going to invite you to go online or go to the store, and I want you to get a t-shirt, a stone, a crystal, a pair of socks, several pairs of underwear. Great. Lapis? Azuli? I think that's right. Lapis.
It's so weird you said that because I just started really loving to wear, I've always liked the color pink, to wear pink.
Great.
Like I had a dream about it, I woke up the next day.
There you go.
I didn't really have anything, so I just made it up like pink, but I made an outfit out of it.
Nice.
And then the next day I had to have pink.
Yeah.
I had to have pink.
And I'm assuming there's a feeling that came from that dream about pink, right? And that feeling is you probably felt good, you probably felt happy, maybe you felt like laughter.
But while you were
Cute,
talking, I was
good.
thinking, that's what I want my lungs to be.
Great. So then the more you consciously, that is the color of a healthy lung, right? So the more you consciously engage with that color, the more you are enforcing the experience of healthy lungs. Yeah, seriously. These are called anchors, right? They're physical things that can anchor a subconscious, conscious thought. And the more you engage with that thing, the more it's present in your mind, in your being, the more you're interacting with, the more you are supporting this in becoming in the world. Got it? Okay, so we need to wrap up, but I want to take any last-minute questions. If there's anybody who has a question online, anybody has a thought, yep.
Debbie online said, do you do private sessions?
Of course I do private sessions. So I'm going to give you my website. It is called Convergence Healing, and that's the title of my book. as well as my website, as well as my Facebook page, Instagram, Convergence Healing. It is a coming together. These are all coming together, and I have lots of other processes to create that. And Jeff, I know you said that there was someone, or was that what Reverend Eunice? That was it. Great. Oh, thank you. Great, as long as they can read it. As long as they can read it. I don't have the greatest writing. Okay, and I actually don't mind that. All right, so with that, I'm going to ask you to do a little meditation with me. And I'm going to focus on Mark's understanding because I think it's appropriate for all of us, that we are all well paid, well received, and well respected. So I'm going to invite you to just take a moment of pause, to breathe with me. For me, in my understanding of the oneness of the universe, breath is the foundation of that experience. To breathe with another person, with this group, with you online, to breathe with you. This is an example, a knowing in myself and for you, if you choose, of being connected, of the oneness that is God. That breath is the divine, in my understanding, the goddess herself. So I'm asking you to breathe with me, and in that breath, to claim, I am well paid. I am well respected. I am well received. And to fill in the blank, the color of it is. And I choose to engage with that color from now on, every day in every way, in what I wear, in what's in my pocket, in what I paint my walls. I choose to engage with that experience, knowing that that color is representative of me being well paid, well respected, and well received. And I can speak that color into being. I could speak in the quality of indigo blue, can't I? I know how to speak in darkness. I know how to speak in red anger. What is it like to speak in the experience of indigo blue? Can you hear your voice now speaking in indigo blue? Can I walk in indigo blue? And if I was your director and you were my actor, and I said, I want you to walk across the frame of the camera, and I want you to walk in the indigo blue experience. And I want you to express that experience as your feet touch the ground. You don't need to say a thing if you don't want to. But I want you to practice when I say the word action, what it's like to walk, to know it in your bones, in your feet, in your neck, and your spine, to walk in this indigo blue. And now I say action. And as you're walking on the movie screen of your mind, in that indigo blue, notice your hands, notice your arms, notice your breath as you walk in that indigo blue. To feel it, to be it, to speak it, to taste it and smell it. Engage with blue food this week, Mark, and any of you, because that's just another way that you get to actually embody. You get to embody this truth. And take another deep breath with me, if you will. In this gratitude for this place, in this appreciation for this experience, I say thank you. As I breathe with you, I recognize your truth, that you are whole, that you are perfect, and that you are complete. And whatever it is that you are creating in this beautiful life of yours, that you are consciously creating, is the experience, the expression of your divinity coming forward in the world. And so I'm asking you to engage with that understanding physically, mentally, spiritually, to walk in that understanding, to move towards that experience, to allow it to be expressed in you, of you, and as you, to say yes. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for this experience. I am blessed in this moment. You can contact me through convergencehealing.com, Facebook, Instagram, or anything else. You can find my book on Kindle. You can find it on Barnes & Noble. You can find it in paperback on Amazon, and you can find it on Audible if you'd like to listen to it. I am blessed by you once again, and I am thank you to Mark for inviting me to do this. Thank you to Reverend Eunice for this amazing facility that's hosting me in this talk. I love you all. Someone said, well, how can you love me? You have never met me. And I said, well, people hate people they've never met. So then I can love you, even if I've never met you. Namaste. Thank you. Yay.